Welcome into the Vegas Squares podcast, where we discuss all things sports and sports betting. Presented by 12 Ounce Sports Radio.
Welcome back to the Vegas Squares podcast, where you get to laugh at how much money we lose every week on NFL football picks. I am Spike. I am hosting this week. Joining me is the ghost of Aaron, because he is sick as a dog and we don't want him to talk that much. And across the table from me is Token Tony. Say hello, boys.
What's up, Paul?
Hello, boys.
Yeah, there we go. I figured you'd be creepy Nambla-esque when you said it, too. Thank you for proving me right. Anyway, we are going to recap the week that was in the NFL. Week 7 was full of hits and misses, both on and off the field. This, for me personally, I did all right at the window. I don't know about you guys, but my picks here didn't hit, but the ones that I was sure about, I actually took to the window and made a couple of bucks.
I went 4-3 today with my picks. I had a slight quarter of a unit profit. It would have been better if the Ravens can make some extra points, but
yeah, that was odd ending to that game.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we get to talk about that game a little bit more in depth. But yeah, that one kind of fucked me over too. Very quickly, I want to thank our sponsors, 12 Out Sports. They're the ones nice enough to put us on the air apparently multiple times per week. I'm only on a couple of those shows, but that's because you talk about other fucking nonsense when I'm not here.
Yeah, we talk about women's hockey, which I know you're not interested in.
That's my jam! We also want to thank Chai Poker and VGK Pop Sockets. They've been with us pretty much since the beginning, so thank you very much for sticking with us, and always look forward to working with those guys. Chai Poker, I know, has an event coming up in December. We're going to talk more about that once we get some more concrete details.
Yeah, I believe the date is December 1st, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yeah, and we'll confirm all that, details, time, place, price, location, etc., the who, what, where, when, why, how, and what the fuck are you talking about of these tournaments. So, anyway, let's get into it. And you want to start with the upcoming Monday night game, which is on the air in what?
Just a few minutes.
Yeah, it should be about kicking off. My bold prediction of the week should have been that a starting quarterback was going to get benched, which did happen. Instead, I went too specific and said Eli Manning would get benched.
There's still time.
In this specific game. I hope I am correct in that. But anyway, this is Atlanta hosting the Giants, 70% of the money coming in on Atlanta. We made our picks last night. For those that weren't listening, Token and I are both on Atlanta -4. The line's actually moved to 3.5, but we have it at 4. And Aaron is on the G-Men plus the 4. Token, you still feel comfortable with this 4-point line here?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think I am as well. I know Aaron would rather have the 4 than the 3.5, but
yeah, I'll hold on to my half a point.
I figured as much. Anyway, my analysis was when there's shit against shit, I'll take the shit that's playing at home. So I'm going to stick with Atlanta on this one too.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Giants are definitely out of the NFC East. I don't know that Atlanta's completely out of the NFC South, but a loss here really puts them in a bad spot. So,
yeah,
let's see if they get any fight left in them.
Yeah, I mean, even if they win this game, I mean, they're still a long road ahead of them to make that climb back, but they could always sneak in as a wild card as they normally do. So,
no, I think if Atlanta loses this, they are done. I mean, you got 5-1, 5-1 New Orleans, and you have 4-2. Carolina Panthers at this point.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe that is correct. Yeah.
Tampa Bay with the two-headed monster of Jameis Winston and Ryan Fitzmagic. Never know what kind of record they're going to put up at the end of the year. So yeah, I think Atlanta really needs to hang on here.
Yeah, they go 2-5 in that division, especially even being 2 games behind Tampa.
Yeah, that's no good.
No, I can't see it, especially with the other divisions. Seattle, I think. Seattle's even or better than them. I think Detroit is even or better than them on a neutral site. Obviously, Green Bay. You got Dallas and Philly. There's just too many teams that could play 500 ball or a little bit better and still just stay in front of Atlanta if they go to 2-5.
Yeah. So, should be an interesting one. I'm not expecting great football out of either of these teams, but as far as the standings go, as far as the betting goes, this is going to be a game worth watching, I think.
Yeah, just have low expectations going into it.
I mean, it's must-see TV because of the players. You have Odell Beckham Jr. and Julio Jones, two of the most dynamic receivers in the NFL, and you have the rookie. You have Saquon Barkley, who every week it just seems to keep defying odds and putting up huge numbers, both statistically and in fantasy world.
Yeah, so be interesting to see what the Giants can do on the road too. I know that they are currently 1-2 on the road, with 2-1 against the spread when they are away from New Jersey. So hopefully, maybe for Aaron's sake, they can actually get him the win, because this was not a good week for either of us so far. So
no, from it sounds, I thought I had a decent weekend, but I forgot about our lock 6-point swing.
Yeah, and we'll get into how we did in our little contest as well as we go through the games here. So let's jump into it. London, England hosted the Tennessee Titans and the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers, theoretically, the home team in this. This was a game that opened, or that we had at 6.5. Actually came up at 5.5 at kickoff, which I'm surprised in the 3 or 4 hours between when we stopped recording and when this game kicked off. There was a full point swing.
Yeah, that's pretty significant action then.
Yeah, total was 46. It came under, so that worked out. Chargers barely eke out the win after Vrabel decides to go for 2 instead of just kicking the extra point and playing for overtime. Sort of a weird game from what I saw, but Token, why don't you let us know what you thought about this one?
It was a very interesting one. I was actually awake when this was going on. I didn't go to sleep until probably right around when the afternoon game started. So, yeah, I was out and about a little bit last night. So
yeah, that will happen when you got to work those streets to make money for your football losses.
It's true.
Those hookers assholes won't suck themselves.
I regret bringing that up.
I mean, it was a good win by the Chargers. I almost like Clippers because that's normal now.
It's a thing.
Yeah. My bold prediction wasn't right, though. I thought Tennessee's defense would at least score a few points and potentially score more than the offense, and that didn't happen. So,
yeah, no, this was a pretty cut and dry game, back and forth. It was just trading points. Chargers up 10-6 at the half, ends 20-19, so nothing too dynamic going on here. Rivers 19-26 for 306 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. Kind of had a decent enough day. A little pedestrian for him, I think, but it is what it is. Rushing game for San Diego, the Chargers never really got going. Eckler had 42 yards on the ground on 12 carries, but nobody else really did anything.
That's a big testament to Melvin Gordon being out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not really cause for concern for the Chargers fans right now, but if Gordon can stay healthy, then they should be fine. If he can't stay healthy, that's going to be something to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, if his injury is long-term, that creates an issue. But it is nice to see that in a situation like this where Melvin Gordon wasn't really ruled out until the day before the game, a guy like Phillip Rivers can come in, pace the offense 306 yards, and he's got 3 receivers who can just, kind of be the offense in a situation where Gordon can't play. Eckler's not a bad option. He's just not Melvin Gordon.
Right. And that's sort of the issue. And then you have to wonder if Gordon is out long term.
He's got a hamstring injury. That could be, one of those nagging
week
ones.
to week, almost, yeah.
Kind of thing that he could re-aggravate at any time, too.
I wish this was my bold prediction. I did make this prediction on this game. I said these two teams would be good for about 20 points each. And hashtag nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty spot on.
And you also had the under in this game. When it was 45 when we picked, it moved to 46. So they must have gotten some big money in overnight.
Yeah, had Tennessee went for the extra point. That might have been a little worrisome, but
I'm curious if in a game like this that's played in London, if do places like covers, etc., take into account how much money goes in overseas in a game like this, because there's 80,000 people who show up at this stadium that they can actually bet in the stadium.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Do we have numbers on when the games are played in the NFL, or NFL games are played in London? How many of the people in the stands are actually from London, and how many of them are just fans of these teams that flew into London for the game?
I'm sure the NFL has those numbers, but I would highly doubt it would be
It's probably
almost like a census.
Yeah,
I would say the majority would be people from London, actually, because I heard when those tickets become available, they go like hotcakes.
Really?
Well, I will say you could probably do a very poor man's version of a census, because every time I watch a London game, the MO is the people from London, or the fans who are from London, cheer all kicking plays because they all say this isn't football.
Right.
So anytime there's a field goal or a punt, they cheer it as loud as they can, which is kind of ironic given the fact that most people in America don't cheer field goals and punts. So that may be a way to do like a poor man census. You look up in the crowd and who's cheering for the field goals.
All right.
Interesting.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I have heard the...
I don't remember which game I watched that I learned that, but I've started watching it now, and it is funny. It's the people literally go nuts for field goals and punts.
Yeah, it's... I've heard more than one European refer to this game as hand-egg rather than football.
Hand-egg.
So.
I've heard that statement as well. I mean, it's an interesting take on it, but it is what it is.
I just found it funny because I would never, it's not something as an American football fan I would ever think of, listening to. The excessive cheers from a chip shot extra point or whatever.
They do love them kicking.
So how'd we do in this one?
So this was Token had the Chargers minus the 6.5, swing and a miss on that one. Aaron and I both gained a point on this. You had the under 45. I had Tennessee plus 6.5. So we'll ship that one.
It all goes downhill from here for me. I know that. So it all goes kind of downhill from here for me.
Yeah, well,
You got a few other hits in there.
yeah. You had this one. Let me see. Oh, I get. Hang on.
We can talk about the next one, I'm sure.
No, I'm going out of order here.
So we might all have a different next one because the next one I'm looking at, I didn't get it right.
There's two on my slate that are next, and I think you both had those right. So
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to go by covers because this is, and I'm going back and forth here. So I've got Minnesota at the Jets as my next game here.
Okay,
that's why
that one.
That's why I had.
So this was a game that when we talked about, we said Darnold may or may not be a lot more injured than he's letting on. We talked about how this was going to be kind of a grinded-out game, and that's why I took the over, because I did so bad in Week 6 that I faded myself on every pick in Week 7. I actually hit this one, but it was, from what I can tell, kind of just really a walk in the park for Kirk Cousins. 25 of 40 for 241 and 2 touchdowns. Doesn't seem like he had to do too much to win this one.
Minnesota's defense as well kind of showed up to this one as...
Yeah, the name of the game was turnovers and field position, because Minnesota, I believe 3 possessions, which all led to points, started within the Jets' 40-yard line or closer. So that's obviously a big factor in that. That's why you don't see a lot of stat line from a lot of these guys, especially in Minnesota. Murray with 15 carries, 69 yards, had 2 big running touchdowns. Most of his carries were pretty much falling right around the line of scrimmage. I believe he had a 38-yard touchdown. I believe he had like a 24-yard touchdown.
Sounds about right.
So 2 of his carries were basically the bulk of his yards. I would actually be a little alarmed that on the longer drives, Minnesota did seem to stall out a little bit. But if I was anybody, I'd be alarmed that Stephon Diggs is basically a short possession receiver who cannot separate right now. I don't know if that's due to his injury or just due to the fact that he's just not that good of a receiver, and the guy lined up against him, on the other side of him, is just leaps and bounds better than he is. I know that sounds crazy, but I watched Stephon Diggs. He can get no separation from the cornerbacks, and when Kirk Cousins does try to fire at him, it seems that he's having to throw passes that are a little offline, because if he throws them online, they're either going to get deflected or they could get picked.
Yeah.
So that's something going forward with the Vikings that kind of disturbs me, other than obviously Dalvin Cook hasn't played. But I like Latavius Murray as a change of pace back that got to control the clock and get you 3 yards if you need to. But only having pretty much Adam Thielen. I mean, Kyle Rudolph's been non-existent this year, virtually. Laquan Treadwell, who was a first-round pick, or they had high hopes for, virtually non-existent. I mean, if your name's not Adam Thielen in this receiving core, you should be stepping up your game. And I don't know if that's a product of Cousins' inability to get them the football, or if that's a product of Thielen just being so much of a safety blanket.
I think it's more of Thielen being the safety blanket in this spot.
But, yeah, Sam Darnold looked every bit hurt. His receivers, I mean, I actually watched this game more so. I mean, between the Red Zone channel, I keep the game on the Bucks or the Patriots, like I told you before. The Red Zone channel had a lot of this game on. And, I mean, I looked at every time Sam Darnold actually completed a pass to a guy in a green jersey, I didn't know who it was. And, I mean, not saying that they have guys who are gangbusters, but, I mean, like, other than Robbie Anderson, I don't know who Trent Cannon is. I don't know who Chris Herndon is. I don't know who Andre Roberts is, Deontay Burnett. I mean, those are the other guys who caught passes. I mean, I don't know who they are.
Yeah, and this is a problem, too, because they've had the two-headed running attack in New York with Crowell and Powell, and Powell actually left the game with a neck injury.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard the extent of how long he is expected to be out, but you don't typically come back from a neck injury super quick.
Yeah, 2 deflected interceptions, too, by Darnold. So
Yeah,
I would
total
venture to say 2 of them really weren't his fault. Just a bad effort by New York, the team overall. I mean, like I said, turnovers in short field, that's never a good recipe. Remember when Minnesota got beat by the Bills? It was pretty much only turnovers in short field.
Right.
Yeah.
So these games kind of write themselves when that stuff happens.
Yeah, and, it's Darnold, even if you can't fault him for every interception, going 17 of 42, 1 score, 3 picks, I mean, that's a bad day at the office.
When Minnesota's defense knows you have to throw, it's not a good combination for you.
Yeah, so
overall, he did not. I mean, like I said, he was one of the guys I said who seems to get better every game. You got to throw this game plan out the window. I mean, I think Todd Bowles would take this game and not add it to anything as far as Sam Darnold's development. He faced a top 5 defense who knew he had to throw from the second quarter on. So we're probably about the middle of the third. It's not a good recipe for success if you're New York or New Jersey, as you like to call them.
Yes. Well, I mean, the practice facilities in Jersey, the stadium's in Jersey, the team offices are in Jersey, the team plays in Jersey. So calling them New York's a little...
You're right. Do you know who the only New York team is?
Buffalo.
The Bills.
Yeah.
I think they played today too, but I'm not 100% sure they actually stepped on the field.
Yeah. Well.
The defense marginally showed up for one play at least.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, good talk.
But for this game, Jets at Minnesota, it ended Minnesota's 3.5-point favorites. Line was 46 on the total. Token, you actually had the Jets plus the 3.5, thinking that Darnold would be able to keep it close. How much do you want to kick yourself in the ass for that pick?
My foot's up my ass.
There we go. Ghost of Aaron had Minnesota minus the 3.5, so that's a point. Check.
Speaking of Ghost of Aaron, I want to make a shameless plug. But have you watched that show, The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix?
No.
It's awesome. You should watch it.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Good talk.
It starts out really slow, but it's caused me to not sleep a couple nights.
Oh, there we go.
Kind of like our picks.
It's no, I sleep well knowing those are going to be in the dumpster on the end of Sunday night. But anyway, shameless plug.
Yeah, no, that sounds pretty good. I was over the total in this one, 46. Minnesota almost got that themselves, so appreciate Jets not screwing that up and actually doing their part to get me there. So
There you go.
very well done. Anyway, yes, let's talk about the only team that actually resides in New York, and those Buffalo Bills, traveling to face Captain Andrew Luck in the Indianapolis Colts. Game ended at Colts 7-point favorites and a 43.5 total.
Wow.
Very, very
I didn't
close.
realize that.
Yeah, none of us were on the total on this one, so it didn't really come up. But,
Wow.
man, if
I was on that total, I'd be kicking myself.
Yeah, well,
on the over, obviously.
I was on the over on Baltimore, and we'll get to that one when we get to it.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
This was something else. Is Andrew Luck back? Is this where we can say finally we have a healthy and vibrant Andrew Luck doing his thing?
I mean, I'll let you speak first. I'll just say my 2 cents is Andrew Luck's been back. But, okay.
Andrew Luck's been back. He's been healthy, but he hasn't been dominant as expected. This game,
I think he's overachieved. I mean,
yeah, with nobody around him on the team, yeah, I would say that's...
I would say with the injuries, with T.Y. being out a few weeks, Marlon Mack's, this is his second full week back. I understand they're 1-5, but I think with the exception, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe they've been in almost every game except one as far as score goes. I interrupted you, but I believe Andrew Luck's just exceeded expectations for anyone but probably himself. It may not translate to wins, but...
Fair enough, like moral victories and all that, yeah. I don't know. This could be the shape of things to come. I mean, I think he could be the dominant quarterback that he's supposed to be and lead them towards a potential playoff race.
See, I'm looking at this game. Andrew Luck, 17 to 23, which is great. 4 scores, that's great. But he only had 156 yards, which is not great through the air. I know Marlon Mack put up 126 on the ground, so Luck didn't have to do his thing.
Put up 220 all day as a team.
But the Colts played, let's face it, a rotten fucking Bills team. Like, this is a bad team in Buffalo. And the Colts went the first and the third quarter and put up 0 points. Mm-hmm. So
happens.
That's the kind of thing. Well, it does, but it doesn't. I mean, if Token's talking about Andrew Luck is dominant, you're saying that Andrew Luck is back and that he's playing blah 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 and doing his thing.
What based that statement for me is they put the ball in the end zone when they had to.
I just it's not. I look at it as the culture on offense to score points, and if they're going half the game where they're not scoring points, then the offense isn't working. And if the offense isn't working, that goes back to the quarterback. So I know that they put up 37 on a bad Bills team, and they needed to do that, but to go that long without putting up points, to me, that shows that there's still something wrong with Andrew Luck. And I know that some of the weapons are out, and they have been out, and there's still, T.Y. still needs time to get back. Marlon Mack is apparently doing this thing. But for me, Andrew Luck has to be able to lead drives in every quarter in order to make this look like he is where he needs to be. Go ahead and yell at me for that one.
No, that is a right statement. Both early in the second quarter and both early in the fourth quarter, they did put up points. So, I mean, those were due to part of the drive.
I'm trying to find it here. I want to be correct on this, but...
Their first score in the second quarter came at the 13:31 mark, which was a drive of almost 7 minutes. So that kind of extended from the halfway point of the first quarter.
Vinatieri missed 2 PATs tonight, too. Not that that's a huge ordeal, but I think you're overlooking... I mean, the problem is the game goes in waves, and a situation where I don't know who got the ball first in this spot, but I mean a situation where I'm sure that McDermott and the offense for Buffalo wanted to control clock in both of those. Went 24-0 in the third quarter. Yes, there was one bad play with Andrew Luck fumbling out of bounds, which caused the safety. But sometimes the game kind of turns that way. I mean, look at New Orleans. They had a 10.5-minute opening drive in the Ravens game.
Yeah. Sometimes
you just control the ball where it's drive stall. I think you're overreading a lot of that. Because the Bills defense is halfway decent. I would say you're overreading that a little bit. I would say Indianapolis knew that they were in control of this game, and virtually did the minimum they needed to do to win, and they won by 32 points.
Yeah, well, I mean, they won by 32 points because Buffalo started Derek Anderson because that was their best.
Well, they might have won by 52 if they started Nathan Peterman.
Yeah, so this is a. Derek Anderson was Derek Anderson.
I'm actually shocked there hasn't been the Colin Kaepernick hollerings when Josh Allen went down the other day. I guess everybody's just given up on that at this point.
Yeah, that's...
when you're suing the league, I think it's hard to find a job.
That's going to be difficult to get off that persona non grata list.
Yeah.
Anderson, 20 of 31 for 175. No scores, 3 picks. Chris Ivory doing the heavy lifting on the ground. 16 carries for 81 yards.
I mean, okay, look at it this way, and I don't want to get too far off on this game, but, okay, the Panthers won 21-17. They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter and 0 in the first 3. I mean, a win's a win, you know.
Well, I know a win's a win, and that's how you're going to look at it.
And the Eagles scored 17, but they scored them in the second and third. It's just hard. It's flows of the game sometimes, game planning schemes,
field position.
I wouldn't read too much into the fact that they only scored in 2 quarters. They're healthy again. If their defense, like we said, can be not a dumpster fire, I mean, I think that at 2-5, what do we have? The Texans at 4-3. I think with a loss to the Texans, they're probably still out of the AFC South, but they can make it interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, the AFC South is probably, I mean, you were even saying it, probably the most balanced division in football. Going into this week, we had 3 teams at 3-3, and then the Colts at 1-5. But if the Colts are as good as you think they are, then they.
I mean, I don't think they're contenders.
Well, I mean, they're only 2 games out, and there's 9 games left.
Well, they're 3 games out technically. The Texans
and probably 5 of them are divisional.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying they can't come back in the division. I mean, who knows? They could be 1-5 and rattle off 10 straight wins. I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think the Chiefs did it one year. Yeah, so I mean, it'd be interesting. I would effectively rule them out. I would say it's a very minuscule chance of them coming back.
Yeah, anyway.
But they can make waves when they're healthy.
This game, Token and I were both on Buffalo plus the 7 points. Obviously, that didn't come in.
Wasn't even close.
I took it as my blind bet.
Buffalo didn't even get 7 points.
Yeah, I wasn't sure exactly what Derek Anderson we were going to see, so that's why I didn't want to risk it at all. Aaron, you actually had Indy first half -4. And you hit that one.
I also put a disclaimer that said that you should take the Colts with the game too.
Yeah,
any amount of money.
So,
whoa,
kudos to you on that one for being the only one to get a point in that game by us. Let us move on to 2 teams moving in complete opposite directions.
Oh, this I gotta hear.
The Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville winning the Super Bowl in Week 2 and then forgetting that they still have 15 weeks of football to play. Have gone into the shitter. And meanwhile, Houston is actually coming up and looking like I thought they would at the beginning of the season. Kind of an interesting game, and we saw finally the benching of Blake Bortles. Cody Kessler comes in, goes 21 of 30 for 156, a score and a pick. Mm-hmm. But not enough as Houston squarely beats Jacksonville. Game ended with Jacksonville. No, I gotta look at this. Jacksonville as 3.5-point favorites. Total was 43, so came way under the total. That being because Jacksonville apparently couldn't find the fucking end zone, but.
Yeah, when Bortles is your leading rusher in this game, good things aren't going to happen.
And he didn't play the quarter and a half.
Yeah, good things aren't going to happen.
Yeah, look, I mean, we all know my affinity for Blake Bortles. I probably have defended him a little more blindly than I should have. At this point, I believe he is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I will not disrespect him just because of the ties. I will just say that he does not belong as a starting quarterback in the NFL anymore.
Oh. Hot take alert.
Interesting, yeah.
But yeah, my game plan for this one kind of came through exactly how I wanted to, or how I expected. You know, I said I'll take the Texans because I think they have the better quarterback and the better defensive line, and I think that was proven based on the fact that Houston rushed with Lamar and Blue for 128 yards. They paced it. Deshaun Watson, like I said, he's an okay quarterback, better than Blake, obviously, but this is the kind of stat lines I unfortunately see in his future a lot more. I mean, I think he'll get more towards the 170 to 200 yards, but 50% completion passing, you know, teams are going to learn to bottle him up. So they're going to have to learn to run the football because that is going to need to be a change of pace for Deshaun Watson, because I think what we saw in those first 6 games is just, it's gone, I think. I think this is the Deshaun Watson that is going to exist in Houston. Like I said, you know, 50% passing, 55% passing, 160, 170 yards, and winning games. I mean, again, they won by 2 touchdowns, but this game was ugly. I watched quite a bit of this game. This game was not pretty.
Yeah, and this is a game, too, that this is, when the season started, this is what I expected to see out of Deshaun Watson. It just kind of took him, you know, weeks 4 through 7 to actually get there.
I think the rest of everybody thought he was going to go 304 touchdowns every week.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I kind of thought that too, which is why I had him as an early MVP candidate, which clearly isn't the case, but he is proving now that he can win in this league. Whether or not he can win consistently.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, whether or not he can win consistently, whether or not he can go better than 8-8, 9-7 every year, I don't know. But right now, they've won 4 in a row. Houston is looking like America's darling right now. And they're...
Does 9 wins get you in the playoffs in this league?
In the AFC South, possibly.
AFC, yeah.
We should have a prop bet. The winner of this division over under 9.5 wins.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's tough, right?
It is. I mean, you can't count on Tennessee to win games.
Tennessee is what, 3-4 now?
They're 3-4. Jacksonville's 3-4. Houston's in the lead at
4-3 and 2-5 back there. But Houston has, I believe, the advantage on Jacksonville and Indianapolis, but doesn't have the advantage on the Titans. 9.5. I'm going to say over. I'm going to say 10-6 wins this division.
10-6.
I say nine wins could do it, though.
I think it can do it, absolutely. I'm just saying, I think the Texans are about to hit a stride here. Let's see. What's their
the next game's Thursday night hosting Miami.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to watch.
I favor home teams in that spot.
That was, if we were getting to too early takes for next week's lines, I was going to say take Houston minus whatever the fuck they put it at.
Yeah, so they go Dolphins, Broncos, Redskins on the road. Broncos and Redskins on the road. Then they go Titans, Browns, and Colts. You know what? I might want to change my pick. I don't know. Yeah, I think they're going to go on a run. I mean, I think the only game that really scares me is the Redskins on the road. Redskins on the road. Yeah, I think I'll say that the Texans could finish somewhere around 10-6 if they run the football appropriately, which is easier said than done.
And they got 100 yards out of Lamar Miller today. So
yeah, that was a big improvement for them.
Yeah, so I mean, certainly they can put it on the ground. They can grind it out, and these might be the kinds of wins that Houston gets the rest of the year. And if they do, then you're right, 9-7, 10-6, and the division win is probably in their future.
Well, that's also what a 4th place schedule is going to get you to.
Right. Yeah, and so the flip side of that, yeah, that's Jaguars lose temper in locker room after Blake Bortles benched and lost. That is a headline on ESPN right now.
I can't defend him. If they want to say that he's their guy, fine, go for it. But he's just not. I mean, he's not progressing year to year, week to week.
I mean, this is a guy that took him to the AFC Championship game last year. Obviously, the defense did a lot of the heavy lifting last year too, but Bortles was putting up numbers.
Well, and in fairness, I think he beat Pittsburgh last year. But
yeah.
You're right. Over the course of the season, the defense and the running game were out of control. But that's the thing. He has no running game. I mean, I think Yeldon was the second leading rusher at 28 yards with 12 carries. That's not going to do it.
No,
of course.
I mean, they're already saying Fournette's not coming back until after the bye week. I think that's week 10. I mean, they could be 3-6 by then.
Yeah.
What can Carlos Hyde do? We'll see. He obviously didn't play this game because he would have had no impact in this game, not knowing the playbook.
Yeah,
he's going to have.
Charles only had the 1 carry for 2 yards.
Yeah, so they've got 4 running backs. Let's take out Leonard Fournette right now. They have 3 running backs who are. I mean, I don't know what you want to call Hyde, but they're B- at best. I mean, Jamal Charles is a D running back. T.J. Yeldon has flashes in the pan, and as I would say, Carlos Hyde is a B-. Carlos Hyde is their best back right now, and he's a B-, and so it's tough,
Yeah.
And they have no receiving core, so I can't hate. Like I said, Blake Bortles probably not a starting quarterback, but at the same time, he's a fit for this team. He's the best chance to win, despite what Cody Kessler did in the limited action he had.
Right.
Yeah, unless if they go out and sign somebody else or whatever.
No, they're not. They're stuck with him. It's too late in the season.
Well, that's the Bleacher Report is saying that if they want to win, they should go sign Kaepernick. And
I was just about to say that, yeah.
He's not. Yeah, he's done.
I'm sure he is, but if they want to win, I mean...
But you know what? Shad Khan is the kind of guy that might do that. The owner for the Jaguars.
Right. Yeah, well, that could make it interesting.
Well,
anyway.
You sign him, you let him sit there for 3 weeks, learn the playbook. When he and Fournette come back in week 10, hopefully you're 5-4 or 4-5, and you got a shot.
Yeah.
And if not, you're going to sell some tickets.
Yeah, sell some tickets, sell some jerseys.
Because I think they have a game in London too, where the people in London just eat Kaepernick up. So.
Well,
not in a bad way. I mean, in a good way.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. Yeah, you scared me a little bit there.
No,
anyway.
I think they love Kaepernick.
Total on this one, close at 43. We actually had it at 41.5. Token, you took the over in this one, so swing and a miss there. Aaron went Houston money line.
Plus 185.
Even as a 3.5 point dog, you were able to hit that one. I took Houston plus the 3, so you and I gained a point on that one. That worked out all right.
What'd you pick?
Let's get into the greatest team to ever walk the face of the earth facing the Chicago Bears.
I was going to say Cleveland Browns.
I didn't think you were going to say the Lions. So
Yeah, no, definitively not the Lions. I can promise you that. The New England Patriots went into Chicago, took care of business. Tom Brady, 25 of 36, 277, 3 touchdowns. I'm not even going to count the interception against him because it didn't work. My big concern is Sony Michel. That injury looked ugly. That looked bad. I am not optimistic because the way that injury looked, he hobbled off the field. They called it an ankle injury, but then later they said it was a knee injury, and to me that just screams ACL.
ACL, yeah.
So that's that was. Anyway,
there's nothing you can do right now. You just got to kind of wait.
Right. The problem is they don't really have another running back. Burkhead's been hurt. James White, who is a tailback, is really a pass-catching tailback out of the backfield. Kenyon Barner's not going to cut it, and Patterson's nice on end arounds. But
yeah, he's not a running back.
He's not a running back either. So this is going to be interesting. Tom Brady going to have to win games with his arm, and we haven't really seen too much of Tom Brady do that. So, Token, I know that you were happy to see another NFC North team lose.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my take on this game, New England looked pretty dominant in this. They let the Bears sneak back into this one a little. Trubisky kind of got them back into this game, and as well as being the leading rusher for them. That's kind of a cause for concern for the Bears, too.
Yeah, Jordan Howard, I mean, I don't know what to say about him. He's coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard years, but I don't think this. I mean, you look at Matt Nagy last year. I mean, he doesn't have a Kareem Hunt. I mean, I guess he thought Jordan Howard could be it, but Jordan Howard's not Kareem Hunt. Tariq Cohen's too small to be Kareem Hunt. So effectively, they have no running game, which is trouble for a guy like Mr. Trubisky. Thankfully, he has the ability to escape the pocket. I mean, 6 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown is huge.
Yeah.
I thought Trubisky played very well in this game, minus 2 plays.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed the game. Both offenses played very well. Both defenses. It scares me now because I was so high on Chicago. Both defenses are showing that they're very bend don't break, and these are the kind of games that both of these two teams are going to be in most weeks. I'd like to see Josh Gordon coming around. Fantasy-wise, I'm sad that it's at the expense of Julian Edelman. Obviously, Gronk didn't play this game. Would that have mattered? Probably a little bit. I just don't know if Gronk moves the needle that much in terms of the way that Chicago would have defended this team. I know that sounds crazy probably in your heads, but yeah, you're right. The rushing game, if Michel's out for a long time, they're going to have to go back to that manufactured run game. I think they had, what year did they win the Super Bowl against the Falcons? 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Where the dink and dunk screens and running back, I don't know what that route is, but he comes out of the backfield and literally goes right up the middle. It's like a
slant.
Like a carrot route. I don't know what they call it, but effectively, yeah, running back slant almost. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Like, what is that route called?
What you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know what the route
But it was manufactured running game by Tom Brady.
Hook slant?
Yeah, we'll call it whatever you want. But it was manufactured rushing game, and that's maybe what they have to go back to because James White and Kenyon Barner are the prototypical models for that. I mean, to be honest with you, if they could average 3.6 to 3.8 yards a carry out of these two guys, I wouldn't hate it. But I don't know if that's going to continue.
Yeah.
If they can do it against Chicago, it's kind of nice. But it's amazing how the last 3 games, Khalil Mack has been such a non-factor. And that's the thing. I'm not calling Gruden a genius. I'm not calling the Bears, idiots. But to give that much money to one defensive guy and to give up 2 first-round picks, there are games. There's going to be, I'd probably say there's 8 games where he makes no factor in games like this.
Yeah, single tackle for Khalil Mack today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not going to help defense at all.
And
not when you're making $20 million a year.
I know he's got kind of a bum ankle in this one, but the thing that concerns me about this game more than anything is New England giving up big plays. Like, they're able to stop a little dink and dunk. They're able to stop things over the middle, but those big passes or letting Trubisky run wild out of the backfield. And
I think they've kind of adapted to the way that the NFL is now. Between the 20s, between the middle of the field, between the 20s, people move at will. And the Patriots have just allowed that. It's when you get into the red zones, it's where defenses tighten up. You get that 12th man as the back of the end zone. They've got a great red zone defense, but that's just the new wave. Between the 20s, people are moving at will, including the Patriots. It's not the way. It's the way people who love high scoring want it, but it's maybe not the way that people who like actual defensive or actual football would have it.
Sure.
I don't like the fact that all teams can move literally between the 20s at will. I don't like it.
Yeah, that opens too much of the field at some points.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes the game sexier to watch on
Right,
TV,
sure.
which is what I think people want to see.
Sure, no, I don't have a problem with it. Again, I don't see the issue with it. I don't think it's changing anytime soon. I'm just saying, me as a personal, it's just it's like Major League Baseball. They're trying to morph a game for a demographic that doesn't watch their game.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
And I mean, this is a constant. This is an example of a league morphing their game into something that people want to see, and that's touchdowns. Because as much as people like me like a defensive struggle or like a no hitter, it's not sexy.
Yeah, so Trubisky finished this game with 280 yards, plus a 53-yard Hail Mary that fell short, but he padded his stats with that one to look like he had a better game than he maybe did.
He had 400 yards of total offense. I mean, that's pretty good. Yes, he had a 53 yard. He had 333 yards passing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he would have had 280 with the
To a 279 because it was a 54-yarder.
yeah.
So, yeah.
That was that puckered your butthole a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, I wasn't happy about that.
Well, the thing is that he caught it, and I'm like, well, he's going in, and for whatever reason, I don't know who tackled him, but somebody came out of nowhere and got him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you were saying, between the 20s and 20s, field's wide open. A lot of the defenses are either trying to push for the 3 and outs or not give up the touchdown or the field goals at that point. So,
Yeah, you don't see a lot of blitzing between the 20s, in my opinion, unless it's 3rd and long.
Yeah, well, New England doesn't blitz that much anyway. They came into the game with the 3rd fewest sacks in the league, and I think they only put up one more today.
Well, a day like this,
Or Sunday.
the way you combat Mitch Trubisky is you pressure him.
Yeah.
And
And that's
you
what they
see-
did on the Hail Mary. He threw that ball about
He got hit when he threw that ball. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, this was a good one. I enjoyed watching this one thoroughly, especially with the New England win. Aaron, you had the Bears plus the 2, thinking that they were going to keep it close. So, yeah,
I'd say they did overall.
I mean,
the 7-point game is effectively, it doesn't cover, but it's effectively close.
Yeah.
This game was close.
yeah.
Token, you took New England minus the 2. I was a little less optimistic, took New England money line. So we each scored on that one.
Yeah.
Kudos to us for being correct. Why do I have an afternoon game before a morning game on my list? Anyway, we're going to get into this one because this one annoyed the fuck out of me. New Orleans and Baltimore.
We're going a late game, huh?
Yeah, I don't know why Covers has it this way, but they do, so we're going to run with it.
Okay.
New Orleans and Baltimore. You guys actually had both of these as your lock of the week. Token New Orleans money line, Aaron Baltimore money line. 6-point swing game in this one.
Oh, that's gross.
We had the actual spread was Baltimore favored by 2.5. Closed at 49.5 when we recorded. It was at 49. I took the over in this game. Wow, am I fucking annoyed by that. So let's just recap for anybody that missed it. Baltimore gets the last second touchdown. They put it at 24-23, and they were about to kick the extra point. I'm not even going to say his name. The Baltimore kicker,
Rhymes with fucker.
yeah, decided that
I didn't see the extra point. That thing turned. Wow.
after 221 consecutive extra points made in his career and never missing one, that this would be the time that he decided to miss an extra point. If he hits it, the total's at 48 and it's going to overtime, and unless there's a tie, my over comes in. And instead...
That was some interesting noise.
Yeah. Anyway, Token, since you were on the Saints, why don't you tell us what you saw out of New Orleans today and how you felt about this one?
It's a little cause for concern. I thought they would put up a little more passing yards as well as I thought they did pretty well rushing in this game. I believe they put up right around 100 total yards combined between both backs. Maybe just a little shy of that. I don't know, a little cause of concern, but I think they have a somewhat easy step for them next week. So,
yeah, I haven't even looked at next week yet. Who are they? I don't know who they're against. I don't care. Yeah, so this was Aaron. I know you've been high on Baltimore all year, saying that they are playoff contenders, that they are better than people think, that Flacco is better than people give him credit for. He went 23 of 39 for 279 and 2 scores, no picks. How'd you feel about this one?
I thought, I don't want to use tokens. It could go either way, but it literally was, like you said, if they go into overtime, they carry the momentum, they probably win this game. Who knows? You never quite know how that would go. I think it's fine. I mean, obviously, in this division, Pittsburgh is funny. They're sitting right at the top in their bye week. After all the shenanigans and turmoil, they're 3-2-1. And Cincinnati and Baltimore have steadily fallen right in their place as second tier in this division at 4-3. I still think, with looking at the AFC South, looking at the AFC East, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the 2 wild card spots are concerned, I think Baltimore's only competition is Cincinnati and the Chargers. So I feel pretty confident that they're still a playoff contender, and they will be there in Week 16, and I effectively believe they still will make the playoffs. The thing that I really rely on at this spot is their plus 75 in point differential, because they're winning the games they're supposed to. Problem is these 50-50 balls aren't going away. I would expect them to. They shouldn't have lost to the Browns. That's a tough one, but every other game I think they've played just fine. They played the Bengals pretty well. They obviously beat Bills, Broncos, and Steelers and Titans, and when they have beat them, they've collapsed on these guys and stranglehold them. This game, like I said, I'm not mad that it's lost. I mean, yes, it makes it 4-3, but they got a tough stretch that's going to define the rest of their season, and whether I'm correct or not, they have at the Panthers versus the Steelers and versus the Bengals. They can't afford to go 0-2 against the Bengals. It is a home game. And then I believe the rest of their schedule shapes up pretty favorable. So at 4-3, if they can go 2-1 in this 3-game stretch, that puts them at 6-4. Then they go Raiders, Falcons, Chiefs, Bucks, Chargers, and Browns. I think they can get 4 wins out of those 6, potentially 5. The only one I really don't see them absolutely not winning is the Chiefs.
Browns. Oh.
It's the Chiefs game. So if they could go 4 out of 6 in that one, that puts them at 10-6. I think that's a playoff spot. So these next 3 games are going to be the big barometer for Shane Falco and the Ravens.
So yeah, you're right. And Baltimore's defense had only given up 77 points going into this game. They hold New Orleans to 24 points. For the defense, this has to feel like a win to be able to hold Drew Brees to so few points. I know that sounds strange to say, but when you have a guy that just entered the 500 touchdown pass club, you have to really think that stymieing him as best you can is about all you can do.
It's fair.
So
yeah, you're absolutely right about that one for sure.
Yeah, so this was a game where Aaron and I both missed. Token, you were the only one that hit with New Orleans money line, so kudos to you for that one. That seemed to work out pretty well for you.
Yeah, that was a big swing on the spreadsheet for sure.
And the contest for sure, because this was you and Aaron entered the week super tight, and right now you are starting to pull away after taking the lead on them.
Yeah.
Next game, you know what? Let's get into your Detroit Lions, because they did what I had hoped they did, and they proved Miami to be frauds. And I'm very happy to see that, winning today 32-21. This was in Miami as well, so they can no longer say that they have the home field advantage that they want. What did you see in this one? I hope that you watched this one anyway, because I know that you are a Detroit fan.
I am. I absolutely did watch this one for sure. What I liked about Detroit in this matchup was that they actually played 4 full quarters this week. I mean, that's the first, probably my whole life that I've seen it happen. So, I mean,
Come on.
They either show up for the last two, the first two, or anything in between.
That's a fair assessment. I mean, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean,
The defense looked pretty good without our big linemen playing, and that was a little cause for concern going into the game, but didn't look like it was, so.
I think this is exactly what I said last night is what they have to do. I mean, Kerryon Johnson, LeGarrette Blount, 208 yards on, 29 carries.
Yeah,
They have to effectively put Matthew Stafford in situations where he can't really fuck it up. 18 of 22, 217, that's dink and dunk right there all day. I mean, that's a 10-yard average. 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, Matthew Stafford, yes, he's a number 1 pick 10 years ago, but he doesn't have the talent level of a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah, he has flashes of brilliance.
This is exactly what you have to put him in. And I think Kerryon Johnson and LeGarrette Blount are the perfect duo to do this.
Yeah.
And they've done it over the last 3 weeks. It's been successful twice and unsuccessful once, but that's the NFL. You're going to have wins and losses.
Yeah, and it helps the team protect the ball and not turn it over in your own zone, relying on your defense to try and stop them to a field goal only.
I mean, look at this. 217 yards, 2 touchdowns. You have 208 yards on the ground. You put up 32 points on the road. That's good football.
Yeah, that's very good road football for sure.
Yep. 3-point road favorites, too, going against the Brock Lobster Miami Dolphins. Brock, 22 of 31 for 239 and 2 scores. About a 11-yard per throw average. But last week he was helped tremendously by the yards after the catch. It looks like the receivers weren't able to do that this week to help him out.
No, he did throw a very, very sick ball to Amendola for a touchdown. That was beautiful. Other than that, I didn't see much.
Yeah. The Detroit's defense finally has learned over the past few years. You have to make those tackles, and
well, I mean, when Albert Wilson's stat line is supposed to look like is this, 3 for 32. He catches balls, around the line of scrimmage. So his stat line is supposed to look like this. When he breaks open tackles, then his stat line looks like 3 for 175.
Yeah, and as a defense, you can't be putting up those ridiculous numbers.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how much Devontae Parker has fallen in this offense with his talent. He doesn't even get on the field anymore. There's got to be something wrong there because he's a lot better than everything else they're putting on the field, I can tell you that. So there's got to be a problem there.
So this was a game that when we recorded, the total was 46.5. It actually moved to 47 by kickoff. Went way over, so kudos to you, Token, for picking that. Although, I guess I should shame you a little bit for not taking Detroit. I mean, if you're a Detroit fan, I feel like you should take a Detroit side either.
I usually don't unless if I feel very confident in it. So
What do you take, the over?
I took the over.
He took the over in this one at 46.5.
I think that was
Shouldn't get a point for that. I think I should get 2 points for taking his Lions.
I also took the Lions, so
yeah,
if
you
you're
did.
getting 2 points, I'm getting 2 points.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, me too.
2 out of 3.
1. Yeah.
2 out of 3. We're going to Hollywood.
Consensus says, I guess. Fuck it.
Nah.
Democracy rules.
Yes.
But yeah, we both felt, well, at least for me, I felt Detroit was the better team. I was not worried. I've been saying Miami's a bunch of frauds. I'm so happy Detroit won this game. Miami now travels to Houston to lose to them on Thursday Night Football. And like I said, way too early pick. Take Houston minus whatever. Actually, I'm going to see what the line is already because I want to see if they have something up.
They got an 8-8 schedule shaping up. I mean, I can look at their schedule. You got Texans.
Houston's a 7.5-point favorite to open.
Wow. You got Texans, Jets, Packers, Colts, Bills, Patriots, Vikings, Jaguars, and Bills. That's shaping up to be an 8-8 schedule. Maybe 9-7. So.
Man, a couple of 10-point. Oh, a 14-point game coming up this week. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
If we get to it, if we have time at the end of this. So we have.
We got to spend less time talking about the Lions then.
Yeah, so we're going to move on.
Yeah, we already talked too much about them.
I thought they had a great game. I mean, you can't say that like you said. I never really thought about it until you just said it. They either show up in the first 2 or they show up in the last 2, and this game they showed up in all 4.
Yeah, that was big movement by Kerryon Johnson.
I mean, he had a 71-yard touchdown, but
I mean, besides that,
they had 100 yards on 18 carries.
Yeah.
On top of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, his average rush besides that was roughly about 3.5. So
yeah, it's just pacing the game. Controlling the clock doesn't always necessarily mean 5 yards a carry. It just means you're keeping the ball out of other teams' hands.
Yeah.
If you can run for
And you're opening up the pass.
when I played
And that definitely helps.
Yeah, when I
Stafford.
played football, the coach said if you can get 3 yards of carry, we'll never lose a game. Not me, I wasn't the running back, but I'm saying
Yeah, as a team.
I played tight end, and
You played water boy.
Yeah, and the coach said if we can effectively average 3 yards of carry, we'll never lose a game because, I mean, that's effectively what it is. You run 4 downs, you 3 yards of carry, you're going to get a first down. So you keep the ball out of the other team's hands, and that's sometimes half the battle necessarily than having to put up. I mean, that's the thing. They did it all. They put up 32, and they controlled time of possession. So, anyways, that was too much Lions. Let's move on.
Oh, what's the next game on the slate? So, like,
The next game is the politically correct bowl of the Cowboys and the Indians. Dallas traveling to Landover to play the Redskins. We had this as Dallas at a 1.5-point favorite. It closed at 2.
You are all over the board. We've missed like 2 10 o'clock games.
Which 2?
The Bucks and the Eagles?
yeah, you did skip that line.
Oh, I did skip an entire.
That's all right. We'll
didn't
go
I?
Cowboys, Indians, and then
Yeah,
we'll go back.
we'll do Cowboys and Indians, and we'll go back to that. Yeah, you're right. I skipped an entire row on this thing.
Token, you're hosting the next one.
Moving on up, I got promoted to guest.
You're fired.
All
You're
right.
fired from your internship.
Yeah, there we go. Man.
All right, where are we at? Cowboys and Indians.
Yeah, Cowboys and Indians. Dallas 1.5-point favorites entering the game. Total was 40.5, which didn't quite come in on this one. I didn't see too much in this game to make me feel that either of these teams are good enough to win the NFC East, but I don't think anybody's good enough to win the NFC East, and somebody has to. So
It's true.
I don't quite know what to make of this game. Token, what did you think of this one?
I was asleep during most of this one, to be honest.
I did too, actually. This might not be the best one to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas looked about how they should be realistically down to earth. Washington, as I did pick them, they controlled the ball on the ground, I think, even though Peterson only got roughly about 2.5 yards a carry. Or, no, actually about 4 yards per carry. I think that controlled the game and
Math is hard.
led to it being pretty dominant. Cowboys at the end had a
Shot to tie.
shot to tie and things off the upright.
Stoinks. Yeah, he stoinked it. That was my kicker in fantasy.
And that was after they got flagged for a early movement, a false start penalty.
Yeah.
So they went from a 47-yard try to a 52-yard try, and the kicker just binked it right off the upright there. Yeah, Alex Smith, 14 of 25, so we didn't have to do too much with 178 yards and a touchdown. Good enough to win. Dak Prescott, better numbers at 22 of 35 for 273 and a touchdown, but no ground game from Dallas whatsoever.
Yeah,
Zeke got eaten up.
Zeke had the similar amount of yards as Prescott with 3 times as many carries almost.
Yeah, so Michael Gallup had an unbelievable move for a
Little stutter step.
really, really nice catch, yeah. So good on Dallas for finding a wide receiver that can stretch the field for him because, getting rid of Dez Bryant was a risk, and Gallup might be that type of player. I don't know if he's that caliber player, but he might be that type of player. So good on him. And, of course, Sean Lee on the defense had his typical Sean Lee day of 5 tackles and an assist and getting in everybody's face on just about every play.
Yeah, I mean, not really a lot to take out of this, like you said. You had a knockdown, drag 'em out classic NFC East ball game. I fell asleep during a lot of it too, so I can't really comment on it. I really just want to look at the fact that these two teams may be going in heavily different directions. I think this win was huge for Washington because I will set you up their next 6 weeks. At Giants should be a win. Home versus the Falcons should be a win. At Tampa Bay should beat them. Home versus the Texans, 50-50 ball, but they could win that game. At the Cowboys and at the Eagles. I mean, there's no reason they can't be 4-2 in that, potentially 5-1 in that spot. If they're 4-2, they're 8-4 in the division. At that spot, I think that they run away with it, and nobody really saw that coming because everybody was jerking off the Eagles. But then you have the Dallas Cowboys who go home versus the Titans, a tough team either way. You got at the Eagles, probably a loss on Sunday Night Football. At the Falcons are good at home. back again against the Redskins. Then you have the Saints, the Eagles, and then you're at the Colts. That's a tough stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
And
see
you're already
them
3
going 2 and 4. Yeah.
You're already 3-4. If Dallas could have won this game, they could have been 4-3, with games in hand against both Washington and the
New York.
Giants. Yeah, it's. I was high on the Cowboys this year as far as winning the NFC East. Watching them play offense hurts my eyes. It really does. These are the kind of games they're going to be in, and I think 50-50 their offense is not as good unless Zeke's running the ball well. They have no shot. They have no shot to beat teams.
Yeah, and this is the shame because their offensive line has been so good for so long that any running back should be able to put up tons and tons of yards, and the fact that Zeke isn't doing it.
Well, they're hurt right now. They got two injuries on the offensive line,
yeah,
and that matters.
Oh, it definitively matters, but Zeke, I know he can't block and run, but he has to do something to be able to help them out. So he's taking some pressure off the offense.
There's no passing threat.
And yeah, well,
We've played what? We've played 7 games, and Dak Prescott's thrown for 1,100 yards.
yeah,
There's no passing threat.
it's tough. I don't know what's going on in Dallas. I don't know why their head coach still has a job, but
And Jerry already came out and said that he feels pretty confident in Jason Garrett going forward. So
anyway,
Wow.
sorry Dallas fans, but I don't know. Maybe you're used to it by now. Anyway, I actually took the Cowboys in this game minus the 1.5. Aaron, you had Dallas money line, so obviously we both bricked that one. Token took Washington money line, hit that one pretty well. Let's get to one of the games I skipped because I didn't actually realize that I had skipped it. And I guess maybe I was skipping it subconsciously because I had the lock of the week. Tampa Bay hosting Cleveland. 3.5-point favorites for Tampa Bay. Total ended up at 52.5. Woo! And finished at 49, so the under came in on this one. I don't think any of us, none of us took the total on this one. Famous Jameis aired it out for 52 times, hitting on 32 for 365, but no scores with 2 picks.
that's amazing considering they led this entire game, and he still threw the ball 52 times.
Yeah, that's a little nuts. And he was also their leading rusher with 55 yards.
Yeah, if you're Tampa, you can't be doing that.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think.
Yeah, so Browns managed to stage a comeback in this one. Baker Mayfield, 23 of 34 for 215 and 2 scores. You know, he's starting to show things. I don't know if this is a too early take, but he's starting to show that he's an NFL caliber quarterback. He's also the second best rusher. 4 carries for 43 yards behind Nick Chubb. 18 carries for 80 yards and a score. Interesting game that I saw, and I only caught bits and pieces of this one, but what I saw, I liked out of Nick Chubb.
Yeah, he was fine. Nothing flashy, nothing too crazy. He's exactly what they intended on when they drafted him. A guy who's going to do exactly this, get you 80 to 100 yards. And pace for Baker Mayfield. The one thing I like about Baker Mayfield so far, his numbers aren't there, but he has the ability to take a look at the game and say, okay, here we are, fourth quarter, down by 14 points. Let's just get chunks at a time. And the way he maneuvered down the field with Ratley and Jarvis Landry over those 2 drives, because Jarvis Landry had the bulk of his day in the last 2 drives of the game before overtime. I was very impressed with his ability to. A lot of these guys, especially Jameis Winston's another one, when they're having bad games, they tend to let it snowball. This is not a good game from Winston, despite the yardage. And you saw that when Jameis had to, I don't know if you say win the game or keep Cleveland from winning the game, he couldn't do it. He took 2 detrimental sacks that pushed him out of field goal range. And he got bailed out in overtime by a guy hitting a 59-yard field goal when he should have had a 37-yard attempt. You can't do that. Yeah. You cannot do that in year 5. I don't care if you throw the ball all the way to Clearwater, Florida. You cannot take 2 consecutive sacks and lose 20 yards. It's embarrassing. And honestly, to be honest with you, I know this is probably not the same. It's what I agree, and it's probably not what anybody else would think. Ryan Fitzpatrick gives this team a better chance to win.
Ooh.
100%. I am 100% on that. And I know that they won't do it because Dirk Cutter's going to go down with Jameis Winston. He drafted the guy. But Ryan Fitzpatrick gives this team 100% chance better to win than Jameis Winston does. He's terrible.
Well, they're still hanging on at 3-3. Cleveland falls to 2-4-1. We almost had the Cleveland at 2-3-2. I was really
that made me. Oh my
nail
god!
biter.
Remember on the podcast? I believe I gave him 20-1.
20-1 at $5 that there would be a tie in this.
I need my $5.
Oh yeah, let me look that up.
Aaron, you and I
There's
both
a fresh
had Tampa Bay minus the 3.5.
And that's the other thing is the fact that they drove twice. Catanzaro missed a field goal that actually would have given us that cover in regulation.
Yeah.
And then he missed another one to actually win the game, even with us not covering. They had multiple chances. I'm not bitter because they didn't cover. It's whatever. It's fine. It's we're having fun. We're making picks. But I follow Tampa. I follow New England. I just believe Ryan Fitzpatrick. What I saw in the offense, and I would be willing if you had an anonymous poll. I believe that some of these Tampa Bay guys would say the same thing. And I watch more Tampa than you guys do, obviously.
That is true, yeah.
But he looks like a scared boy out there. And we're going on 5 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing that worries me.
Or 4 years. I can't remember what.
He is multiple years, whatever it may be.
Couple that with his off-field stupidity.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about that. That's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, if he were a winning quarterback, all things would be forgiven because let's not forget about the Roethlisberger.
Sure, but I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt and keeping that out of it. I'm just talking about on the field play.
Sure.
This is a very misleading stat line: 365 yards.
Yeah. Well, that's.
You can tell by his rating of 66.6.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous game. I don't know how he's not putting up, 70 points a game if he's airing it out that many times and rushing it that many times. There's something weird about this guy, and it's just it worries me as an NFL fan to continue to watch him like this.
Yep.
Anyway, we both had Tampa Bay minus a 3.5. Token, you had Cleveland plus a 3.5.
Got the
hook saved you. Cost me 3 points because I did have Tampa as my lock of the week. I also had Tampa on a handful of parlays that I played this week. They were the only team that I had on every ticket because I was that sure of this goddamn game. And this is why I need to start fading myself even more.
Yeah, and I said before the podcast, this game could literally end in a tie, and it almost came out that way.
You are correct.
I think Baker has proven himself to be almost like a veteran quarterback that he should be at this spot, leading this Cleveland team to closer games than they're used to, and see what he can do in the future. It's going to be interesting with him and Chubb and leading the ropes. So
it would be.
Yeah, I guess there's no better way to say this. I'm high on Chubb.
You got a Chubb for Chubb. That's one game.
Couldn't think of a better way to say it.
It's one game. It's one game right now, but yeah, he's a quality running back.
Yeah, and obviously it's too early.
He's in the same class as Sony Michel, so maybe that's.
Yeah, I'm not putting him in Canton yet, believe me, but I think that he'll be a solid NFL player.
Cleveland's near Canton. I think that's probably close enough.
Oh, for fuck's sake, let's move on.
All right.
How about the team that should have won but couldn't because their defense is fucking moronic? The Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Carolina Panthers. Carolina pulled this one out 21-17 at the end. Line finished at Philadelphia as a 5-point home favorite. Total came in at 45, so the under hit on that one. This was... I don't know what Philadelphia was doing. I don't know if you guys saw a highlight of this, but I think the end of the third quarter, the start of the fourth quarter, the Philadelphia defense was on the field doing their "we're shutting them out" dance, and they were just kind of hopping around like a bunch of morons, forgetting that they still had a full quarter of football to play.
Yep.
And everybody tore their ACL or whatever.
And then Carolina came out and managed to put up points.
Yeah, this is a classic example of why you put teams out, behind the woodshed when you have the chance. Philadelphia played well. Their offense played well. Their defense played well against a Carolina team that plays good defense. This game is exactly where I thought it would be. Obviously, I was on the wrong side of the score, but I believe this game would be close. But actually, Philadelphia gave me reason to believe that they were the far superior team for three quarters. And like you said, they let distractions get a hold of them, and they start believing it's. I don't want to use. He seems to be at the front of it because he is the core player who is rah-rah and, don't blame me, and it's Michael Bennett. He's the guy on this team that creates problems, and he was the one leading the charge of stomping around the field. Hey, you got 4 quarters to play, and Carolina did it. I mean, it's a classic example of you're never really out of the game in the NFL. And Cam, credit to him. I've criticized him about getting too high and too low in games, and I watched more of this game just because Red Zone kept here a lot, because it was the game that of probably the most interest to many people. When you saw Cam on the sidelines, he was very calm, not whining. He was sitting with the coordinator, sitting with his teammates. He hasn't done that in the other years. And he could have easily folded in this game, and we could have sat there and still piled on him. And he came back and dinked and dunked his way down the field, and Philadelphia had no answer because they believed they were in complete control. And the NFL has shown you're never out of a football game.
Right, and this was Cam Newton, 25 of 39, 269 yards, 2 scores. He had about a 131.5 quarterback rating in the fourth quarter alone, making up for, I think he was at about 66 through the first 3 quarters. Interesting game. Carson Wentz, 30 of 37, really high percentage completed. 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, no running game whatsoever. Wendell Smallwood, 9 carries for 32 yards, and then I don't know who the hell Josh Adams is. Wasn't he a president back in like the 18th century?
Sure.
Yeah, this is not a game that really caught my interest whatsoever, but Zach Ertz with 9 receptions, 138 yards. That's just... He's doing it every week.
Those 2 good defenses. Like I said, most of these yardage that you see, the 269 and the 310, were done in between the 20s. It's a classic example of 2 good defenses that tighten up in the red zones, and we had a game. Like you said, back in the day when you were throwing for 310 yards and 260 yards, 270 yards, 350, you were putting up 40. But now the thing is you're getting all those between the 20s. It's virtually irrelevant yardage. I mean, Carson Wentz had a fine game. Cam Newton had a fine game. When it came down in between the trenches, Cam Newton's rushing and his ability to find Christian McCaffrey were the difference in the fourth quarter. So, most of Ertz's reception yardage were done in early. Alshon Jeffrey, another good game as well. But like you said, there's no running game there. And eventually, when you can't run the football inside the red zone, you become one-dimensional. And like I said, you effectively get a 12th man with the back of the end zone. And it makes it easier. If you can't run, it makes it easier for the defense to be able to stop you.
Yeah, well, I think Smallwood's fine. Like, he shouldn't be a number one running option.
Jay Ajayi's out. They didn't re-sign Blunt, and now they're paying for it.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. They needed Blunt there, or they needed somebody else. And Smallwood, in other games he's been okay, but this one...
He's not. Yeah, no, he's not anything.
Yeah. No, he's not going to be the answer. Anyway, we are going to move on to the biggest spread of the week. The L.A. Rams traveling to Santa Clara to take on the 49ers. It was a 9-point spread when we looked at it. At kickoff, it moved to 8.5. Total was 51.5. So again, we have the under coming in this game. Last week in Week 6, I said the Rams would win in a laugher, and it wasn't even worth talking about. And apparently I was just 1 week too early because the Rams just teabagged San Francisco all day.
It was a slow bleed.
And Goff didn't have to do anything spectacular in this game. He was barely better than Beathard statistically.
Didn't have to be.
But yeah, he didn't have to be, and Gurley did his Gurley things. So that's
Gurley thing. Basically, what it was is the public was so in love with San Francisco after that Monday Night Football game. I literally liken this to you putting a Band-Aid on your skin. I mean, you look at it: 3 in the first, 19 in the second, 10 in the third, 7 in the fourth. It's literally they were just ripping the Band-Aid slowly. They weren't flashy, they weren't brilliant, but they knew that they were far superior to this team, and they just beat them.
Yeah.
They just beat them down throughout the course of the game, and that's what it was. That's what I likened it. I didn't watch a ton of this game, but it just felt like a slow bleed. Yeah. They played good enough football, and good enough football for them is winning by 30 points. They're really good. They turn it on when they want, and they can put it on cruise control and still have their offense is just so dynamic.
And Gurley, 63 yards on the ground, 23 through the air, 3 total touchdowns for him. Just unbelievable.
He's a machine.
Effort out of him.
He's a machine.
Yeah, I think he's got 14 touchdowns on the season right now. Just
Sounds
great.
about right. Yeah.
Who has him in our fantasy league? I'm going to propose a trade.
Whoever drafted first, I would imagine has it.
No, I took Bell. I drafted first.
Oh, I have Gurley. Yeah.
All right, I'm sending you a trade.
Okay. Well, let's see what you got.
Yeah, I'll send you Patrick Mahomes.
Ooh, that's not the worst trade.
I know, because I think he's on a bye week next week.
Fair enough.
And we don't have a bench. Yeah.
Speaking of Patty.
Bethard was 15 to 27.
Oh, I thought we were segueing to the night game.
I mean,
whoops.
We can. Cause,
There's nothing to take from this game.
the only thing to know is that you both had the Rams minus the 9. I decided to take the Niners plus the 9 and go for
Rams and a laugher.
Yeah, Rams and a laugher. That's the way it should have been. Yeah, so now we can talk about Patty. Those Chiefs.
Better looking Patty, mayonnaise or Mahomes?
Mayonnaise.
They both kind of have the same skin tone.
So
I'm just gonna let that one go.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend that you're not here, like my wife does during sex.
She pretends that I'm not there.
Yes.
Oh, she knows I'm there.
Somehow doubt it. Oh God, we got
that Nate Schmidt poster above you guys when you do it.
No, she just makes me wear a mask.
Chiefs and Bengals.
Mahomes, 28 of 39, 358, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Travis Kelce.
Bad pick. But other than that, he had a great game.
Yeah, I actually was at dinner with my wife and her uncle tonight, so I didn't actually get to see any of this game, except I kept getting notifications on my phone in fantasy football. So
that's what happens when 55 points go on the board.
Yeah, but Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, 15 of 29 for 148, a score and a pick, and then who the hell is Jeff Driscoll? And why did he go 4 for 4 for 39 yards?
I think I don't know 100%, but I think he came out when it was out of reach. I'll have to look at that real quick because I fell asleep during this game a little bit off and on. So.
I was going to say, I have no idea who this guy is.
He actually played
at
Florida. It didn't work out. The only reason I know him is because when I was at UCF, he actually played football in the Orlando area, and he was a big deal.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, he ended up transferring to Louisiana Tech for his last year. Put up big numbers at Louisiana Tech, and I guess that got him a roster spot.
Yeah. Yeah, 6th-round pick by the 49ers in 2016, so somehow he ended up in Cincinnati. Yeah, this...
He might be the starter in San Francisco.
This game was just one-sided all the way around, although A.J. Green did have 7 catches for 117 yards, kept out of the end zone, but...
So was everybody else.
Still putting up great numbers for them. Kareem Hunt, 86 yards on the ground with a score.
2 scores through the air.
Yeah, and just Tyreek Hill, 68 yards and a score. Just, this is such a loaded goddamn Kansas City.
Yeah, who do you stop? Kelsey, Watkins, Hill, Hunt.
But
they threw a touchdown to freaking their backup tight end today. I mean, it was just like...
The defense stepped up today.
Even Mahomes could probably just run it in, so...
This is a team that we were worried about them giving up tons of yards and having to win games 45-42, and this sort of thing. But be able to hold the, going into this game, AFC North leading Bengals to 10 points is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think I'm going to probably tail Kansas City against the spread until they prove me wrong. They're 7-0 against the spread right now.
Yeah, this is just an absurd team playing great football, and they're really fun to watch too. Game opened, or we had it at 6. It actually moved to 6.5 by kickoff, a Kansas City favorite. Total was 56.5. Didn't quite come in, so
Gross.
if you're on the under,
they went for it. Kansas City went for it at the 4-yard line on 4th down when they could have kicked a field goal.
So if you had the over, if you had the public 2-leg parlay,
your remote controls through the window.
Brutal beat, yeah, and that's typically what I do. Aaron, you actually took Cincinnati money line as a blind bet.
Yeah,
so
I'm okay.
You're okay with that one. Token, you had Cincinnati plus the 6. I took the favorite minus the 6, so I got a point.
Which means your head was really on Cincinnati, though.
Yeah, I mean...
But you know what? That's picking football.
I had to fade myself. Anyway, so for this week, Tokens the weekly winner at 5 points. I came in second with 1 point.
Gross. I didn't have that bad of a beat this week?
Yeah, Aaron, you were at negative 1 points this week.
No, that's not bad.
But that brings the season total to me still being in last place at negative 3. Aaron, you have fallen to second place with 15 points because Token Tony right now is not only at 20 points, but he is 5-1 on his locks.
Mm-hmm. So what am I? 4-2?
You are 3-2-1.
3-2-1. That's not good.
And I am 2-4 on mine.
I know what my new strategy is. It's got to be locks of like big money lines or something.
Yeah.
Even those can hurt. Those could hurt too.
Yeah, it almost did
the
for
Bills'
the
point
Packers.
differential is minus 94.
Ugh.
It's 30, except for there's Arizona too, minus 92.
We have to mark this not safe for work for pornography. That is point pornography right there.
And minus 94, and somehow you've won 2 games.
The best division for plus minus I see right now is the NFC North. Currently.
So one of the other contests or things that we're doing amongst ourselves is that we are picking our way too early Super Bowl matchup. And right now, all of us are on the Rams in the NFC. Does anybody want to change their pick there?
Keeping it.
All right. AFC, Token, you have Kansas City.
Keeping it.
Aaron, you have Cincinnati.
I'm still okay right now.
Still okay right now. I'm on New England. I'm going to keep mine right where it is because I like what I see out of this Patriots team right now.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, so I'm pretty happy about that. We doing on time? I don't know what that means. Still go. All right.
You've got things to say. The people need to know. The people need to hear you.
No, they really don't. But we can.
We can preview some lines next week, even.
Yeah, so, some of the way too early lines I wanted to look at. There's a couple of 10-point lines here, but we also have Monday Night Football, where New England is a 14-point favorite over those Buffalo Bills.
God,
that are giving it.
Who decided to schedule that one?
It's a divisional game, I mean.
I don't give a shit.
You know, Buffalo, playoff team last year, at home hosting New England. The crowd's going to be amped up. Every folding table in Buffalo is going to get broken. It's just a question of how badly they lose this game. So 14 points, I think, is going to be a very interesting line.
I think I really like the over.
I want to see what they do. Yeah, the total is at 44.5. Very curious kind of line.
Yeah, I wish Monday night was scheduled or available to be flexed because if it didn't affect traveling and everything so much. I mean, there's so many good games next week. You got Baltimore and Carolina. You got
New Orleans, Minnesota.
Yeah, that's the Sunday night game. You have Green Bay and Los Angeles. I believe that's almost a big favorite. Los Angeles is heavily favored there too.
Baltimore, Carolina.
Yep,
that's going to be solid.
Even Washington Giants is more of a watch game, I would say.
It's an important game for that division, too.
For Washington, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that game opened as a pick-em. It looks like it's moved to Washington minus the 1 right now.
And I don't see it slowing down.
Yeah. So, Kansas City, this is an interesting one. Kansas City opened a 10.5-point favorite, hosting Denver, but it's moved to 9. It's already moved a 1.5.
Double-digit favorite, they're going to jump on the dog.
Yeah. But a road dog, they're still going to jump on it? That seems a little...
Early Monday would jump on... Everybody, all the stigma of double-digit favorite, that's what everybody jumps on. Jump on the dog. I'm not...
And plus...
If I lose, I lose. I'm not fading Kansas City anymore for right now.
No, nor should you. I mean, they're proving to be too good, too strong.
If your offense isn't mildly able to keep up with them, you have no shot.
Yeah, and if the defense is actually stepping up, if this week isn't a fluke, then they are becoming
This week's not a fluke.
scary.
They've shown it. What's their lowest point total of the season? I'm going to look
I believe it's like 27.
Yeah, 27-23 against Denver. Well, Denver. But other than that, they've gone 38, 42, 38, 27, 30, 40, and 45. So...
Average of like 36 per game.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are definitely some interesting lines. So I definitely want to see more. Oh yeah, let's see what we got here. Yeah, they won 38-28, won 42-37.
Do you not believe me?
Yeah. These are, well, I don't know.
I think the biggest question, other than next week's lines, is what is the Pittsburgh line?
The Pittsburgh line right
versus
now.
Cleveland.
They are hosting Cleveland. Pittsburgh is 7.5-point favorites. Right now, they are saying that Le'Veon Bell is out for that game.
Right. They're saying he's due to report Monday, but they also say that they are not 100% sure if he's even going to report. So, is he factored into that 7.5-point line? That's the question.
I believe a little, yeah. I mean,
I would say he's not.
Yeah, I can't imagine he is. If they are,
Weren't they favored by 7.5 on the road last time they played, or like 5 or something like that?
I think it was 6.
So, be interesting.
yeah. So let's see.
If you like the Steelers, grab it now because if Le'Veon does play, it's gonna spike.
Oh yeah,
It might go up to about 10.5, yeah.
And it'll be interesting too to see if the Baker Mayfield ankle injury is. I mean, didn't seem to affect him this week, but those aren't the types of injuries that you can play on and have it get better. You know, it may stay the same where he can play through it all season,
Yeah.
but I'm not confident that he would be able to continue to play and get healthy at the same time. So I think we are just about to wrap it up here. We thank you very much for listening to us. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate 12 Ounce Sports for putting us on the air multiple times per week. Next airing will be Thursday at
7 p.m. Eastern.
There we go. That was your cue, and I'm glad that you listened well enough.
I had a schedule in front of all of us, but Token decided to use it as scratch paper one day.
Oh, lovely. All right.
I have that somewhere at the apartment.
He looked at all the things on my table and goes, "Yeah, our weekly schedule. That seems like the right one to write on."
I forgot to rip it in half and leave the other half.
Oh, appreciate that. All right. Yes, thank you to 12 Ounce Sports. Thank you to VGK Pop Sockets. And thank you to Chai Poker for sticking with us. Thank you all for listening to us. Hopefully you made some money tailing me and or fading me and tailing the other guys.
And tailing Token this week.
Yeah, Token kicked our asses. We'll see what the Atlanta game brings, but it's only going to be a 1-point swing no matter what.
Yeah.
So, anyway, any final thoughts, anything else for the good of the order before we go? No? Radio silence?
Yeah.
I mean, every week's a mystery, dude. The next week when we get on here, like I said, I had the week from heaven one week, and now I'm slowly, it's a regression to the mean. Sports betting's hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you pick every single game. I would never advise when you're actually betting your money to pick every single game. It's not an advantageous strategy.
Yeah, I like to go with usually about 5 games. And
that's usually me. 5 games, 6 if I like some, but I never try to fall on an even number. I'm more in the, if I'm betting 3, I bet I'm heavier. If I'm betting 5, or God forbid I'm betting 7, I'm betting I'm lighter as far as the money totals.
If I really like one, I usually hammer it pretty hard. So,
but betting every game every week is a square play.
Yeah, it is sort of a recipe for disaster. Anyway, thank you very much. We're going to go. We'll see you next time.
Right on.